Alright, this video we're going to be covering tables, and tables are kind of niche in HTML. You're not always going to want to use tables. There's times where, like, if you're making a CMS system or something, you might want to have, for the admin to be able to see like a list of users, and that's usually better done in a table. Or if you actually have some data or something that you want to see in the front end, usually there's that you're just never going to need tables, but they're still good to know. So that's what this video is for. So let's make the font be sans serif, H2, text align center. This is just setting up this actually has nothing to do with tables right now. I'm just setting this up. So okay, so table TD, set it to border 1 pixel solid black. Then TD, set the padding to 8 pixels, 24 pixels, and also text align to center. And then the table, set the border, not color, border collapse to collapse, and margin 16 pixels auto. Okay, so that's actually going to be it for the styling. Alright, let's just put an H2 here, and this is going to say SQL users table, and it's going to sort of mimic what a database would look like. So you start off with a table element with 2 table tags, and then inside, so tables are made 1 row at a time. So the first thing you do inside the table is put the tr, that's it. And then inside the tr, you either put table headers or table data. So the first thing we're going to do, since this is the first row, we want the first row to be headers. Headers are like titles for a column. So you'll see what I mean by that. So user ID, username, email, salt, password. And let's just look at this. So this is what our table looks like right now. So we want to make another row to go under that, and this time it's going to be table data. So TD, let's say 125, there's 5 rows, 5 columns I mean. So I'm just going to put in fake data here, email at gmail.com, and for the salt, just put like a random, trying my best to do randomness. That looks pretty good. And for the password, I have this copied. Alright, let's look at this. Okay, so you see this sort of looks like one user in a database, and I'm not going to take up too much time creating new users, but what I am going to do is just copy this one over and over again, so you could see, so it looks a bit better. So this actually, I mean, it looks really repetitive, but you could imagine if you had all different data in here, it would look like an actual database table. It would look like your actual users. They'd all have different ideas, all have different usernames, all have different emails, and the salt and passwords would all be different too. Okay. Another thing I want to show you here is the border collapse. Let's turn off border collapse and see what happens. So it creates this, it's almost like there's 2 borders on everything. There's a border on the whole table, and then there's a border on all the table headers and table datas. So you see this little table data right here. It has its own little border around it. And then everything else has their own border too. So you might like this table better, but I'm just showing you I'm just showing you that there is a difference. So you could do this one or this one. I kind of like this one better, but that's just me. And also you could change the padding here. So if you change the padding, let's 81 is too much. And let's make more over here too. Let's do like 44. So this is just going to make the table cells bigger, like that. Let's go back, just 8. Okay, and now let's delete this table. And okay, so before I end the video, I want to show you a bit more of a more complex table. So the table that we just did was a really basic table. It was just one row at a time, and each piece of data just took up the default space. So what I mean by default space is, well, you'll see in a second, because you could make table rows take up more than one row, or you can make up one header like take up more than one column. So you'll see exactly what I mean here. So let's do one table row and do 2 headers, and I'm just going to make it say hello world, and let's set the call span to 2 and copy that, and let's look at this. So this actually looks really basic right now. It looks like we just made 2 headers, but these headers are set to take up 2 column spaces. So in the next table row, I can just do it like this. We're going to put a TD, make it say hi, put 4 of them, like that. And now you can see that these headers here take up 2 columns. And you could also make table cells take up more than one table row, which I think is a bit more complicated because, well, let's just see. So table data, hello world, and underneath it make another table data, make this say hi, and let's copy these. And the hello worlds should have a row span of 2. And let's just see what this looks like. Okay, so you can't really see anything right now, but these hello worlds are actually going to take up 2 rows. And the reason why it gets a bit more complicated is because the next row, let's do it, the next row, it already has its first element. So if you usually do TD, right? But this TD here is actually the second thing you're going to see. Let's see. It's not going to be here. It's going to be on the table row. This is the table row we're building. That hi is going to be right under this, because the first element is this one. Even though this one is from the previous table row right here, this is set up to take up 2 row spans. So it's like it has a spot right here reserved for it. That's why I think the row span is a bit more complicated, because you have to sort of keep in your mind which is what. Same thing for here. The second one is at the end right here. So these two both take up 2 row spans. So even though this table is like 4 elements, like there's 4 columns, there's only 2 here, and that's a full column, because the one before it had elements that took up 2 spaces. So I hope that makes sense. And finally, I just want to do one more. TD, I'm gonna make this one say final, and another one, make it just say 164, and make this one take up 3. And you get that. Okay, so that's going to be it for this section. This section was pretty long. There was a lot to cover. I had to cover HTML and CSS. So I hope that the upcoming sections aren't going to be as long as this one. And in the next section, we're going to be learning JavaScript. Okay, so I'll see you there.